aye she Ghana aye butu Ghana dane emunimuni samasote odofo ensem koso Ghana hasi John Dramani Mahama na memunu ubi atapiku na omohwe no ono ka se obetumi economy ni ye o nti ne Ghana force ye hwe wo John Dramani Mahama wona oso be ni nti ye hwe Ghana for atapiku na omohwe John Dramani Mahama senia na memunu ebesi akọ ida say be better si na na don kwakufo ado en Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia ana say enye better ensi o na say be worse obia ka say John Dramani Mahama no ye huneda enti si ade isi no sanso aba back ne de ye hwe say obe nyama yi the among the good people of the Republic of Ghana before John Dramani Mahama na mu na ne gusu hwe nim se bibia beko dollar no se bibia be stabilize chese si ano free senior high no omodua ne sem na de beko yi na teacher training allowances ni allowances bi mu na ade a na de na kwakofo ado ni Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia mo tu aso no ono so betu aso odofo we ni se bibiri a ye hwe enim de ama ye John Dramani Mahama ne ni si aban so mbe de ama the good people of the Republic of Ghana odofo ensem koso na meso magi ni nyina ebre wa komati so odofo mu dimechi na ye kohwe sanse mu ye koso ne ba de aka nya somso kama wa komati
extent leaves the matter still open that there ought to be some pronouncement on that, even if not in relation to the injunction, even a substantive matter itself.
That is what I said earlier, that there are two aspects. One, where the mootness comes in is when it's about the injunction. That is where the mootness comes in. But in terms of the merits, the substantive cases from the argument we have put before the court, it is not, even though, you see, even though it's moot, the court has heard that in future matters, that can also, so the court can still hear it to prevent such a dispute arising in the future. So that's why I said earlier that when it comes to the merit of the case, it is not moot, but as far as the injunction is concerned, it became moot the moment the Chief Justice was given an opportunity to be heard.
And in terms of the considerations that the President undertook in terms of the process to come to the conclusion that, well, he should offer her hearing, was it strictly based on what you had seen from the records in terms of how President Akufo-Addo handled those petitions that resulted in the decision to extend their hearing, particularly because of the fact that you make the point that no law from your arguments allows such a hearing to be extended to her?
No, you see, when the law says that every child is entitled to, let's say, for example, secondary education, okay? Or let me give another. When the law says that, if a law says that a person should not be kept, when they are arrested, they shouldn't be kept for more than 48 hours before being arraigned before a court. It doesn't mean that you should keep the person, for 48 hours. It means that if you can, even 1 second after arrest, you may take the person there. So the fact that we are arguing that the fact that we are arguing that there's no legal requirement that the CJ should be given a hearing before the document is transmitted, it does not mean that when you give a hearing to the person, you have committed or you have violated the Constitution. It only means that you have expanded or you have given more than the Constitution requires. So it's the same thing as saying that 48 hours. It doesn't mean that you should wait for 48 hours. It means that you should do it within the 48 hours. So that is the point. The fact that we have given, the President has decided to give the Chief Justice a hearing, before transmitting or before the committee speaks, does not mean that the President has done anything wrong. And the two arguments can still go together.
I mean, as a legal academic yourself, I mean, the question that I want to ask is, what do you make of suggestions that it is high time we need an instrument to regulate this particular procedure, given that a lot of it, the inroads have been made by way of judicial pronouncements?
Yeah, true. I mean, an instrument will raise a lot of the doubts and will make certain things clear. So, from where I sit, I think an instrument, a legislative instrument or constitutional instrument to further regulate this position, this process, could be very helpful in the whole. Could be very helpful. Yeah, so I agree with you. The other thing which I think we are dealing with is whether the suspension is necessary under the circumstances. When you look at the Constitution, whether or not to suspend the Chief Justice is a question. It's not so it's not automatic that whenever a prima facie case is found by the Council of State and the President, the Chief Justice should be suspended. However, there are other reasons why the Chief Justice may be, suspended. So, for example, we have 3 petitions, right, and they are made up of allegations which we, the public, are not aware of. Now, the question is, if you have 3 petitions, you definitely will need a lot of time to prepare your defense and your explanation. So, I think, playing the role of the head of the judiciary, both administratively and then judicially, is already a lot of work, and meetings are involved, and decisions are taken, and lectures and reading and all. That's a very heavy duty. So to put the Chief Justice in a position where he continue to perform these functions, and at the same time also be defending herself in respect of 3 petitions concurrently, that the probably one of the reasons why the President may want to suspend the Chief Justice, so that he would have sufficient time to prepare and defend himself against allegations. Another reason could also be, and I'm saying could because I'm not privy to what went on in the what informed the decision to suspend, but I'm only giving you some of the possible considerations. It could also be that elements of preventing interference with the inquiry. As you may know, the Chief Justice is the head of the judiciary and is administrative head, and all the Supreme Court judges are more or less subject to her administrative directives. Now the question is, you have 2 Supreme Court judges who are on the panel, and you have a lot of administrative matters that may probably come up. So to give way for a very fair and impartial inquiry, it will also be important to ensure that the head of the institution is not at the same time the one being investigated, to avoid situations where the investigation be tampered or be interfered with. So these are two reasons which may inform the decision to have the Chief Justice suspended pending the investigations.
And finally, it's a question we asked the Minister in charge of Government Communications about who replaces her. We had earlier engaged Martin Kpebu, had agreed on the point that the senior most judge would be acting as a Chief Justice. Is that the understanding from your office for now? We expect Justice Paul Bafoboni, the senior most Supreme Court judge, to be acting as the Chief Justice.
Yes. So, it is true that when the Chief Justice is unable to perform the functions of the office, either by reason of travel, by reason of absence, by reason of suspension, by reason of dismissal, even in the situation of ill health or even demise, the position of the law is very emphatic and clear that the senior of the Supreme Court justices would step into that role. So that is automatically what we expect to happen. And that has nothing, the President has no control over that. He has no role to play in that assignment. And I believe the Supreme Court judges are already aware of this, and I expect that they will take steps to ensure that this replacement is done.
Doc, we'll leave it here for now. Many thanks for joining us this afternoon. That is Dr. Justice Sremsa, is the Deputy Attorney General and Minister for Justice, joining us and sharing the perspective of the Attorney General on this particular matter. Mawina.
Well, we'll go to the courts for you shortly, where my colleague Lord Edward Sare is on standby for us. But let's go to a former member of the Council of State, Sam Okujetu, who's joined us as well via the phone lines. We're still picking reactions to this very big story that's come through, that the President has suspended the Chief Justice following 3 petitions brought to him, which have determined a prima facie case against a 5-member committee has been formed, and the Chief Justice is now expected to mount spirited defenses before this 5-member committee. Mr. Okujetu, would you say, based on the conversations which started from the beginning when these petitions went up until now, crossing this threshold has come to you as a surprise? Mr. Okujetu, I'm asking if everything we've seen playing out in the last hour or so has come to you as a surprise. This suspension of the Chief Justice and the formation of the 5-member committee.
Both as a lawyer and an observer of the political scene for a number of years, I realize that sometimes there are political manipulations which are also clothed in legality, but there is also what must be constitutional provision which must be complied with. And the announcement that has been made, of course, is in compliance with the Constitution.
You say,
yes.
You say manipulations. Is it your suspicion that the process, as we've seen it play out, could have been manipulated to serve a particular purpose?
Well, let's put it this way. We live in a country which is very, very political, and perhaps sometimes it affects or it clouds people's judgment, conduct, action, utterances, and so on and so forth. But when there is a particular provision in the Constitution, I see what has been said or done is actually in compliance with what is in the Constitution.
Let's lean in a bit on your experience when the first petition was taken by Professor Kweku Asare to President Akufo-Addo. You were one of the members of the Council of State who were consulted in that entire process. Considering the position you have now on the argument that this process could be subject to political manipulation, what would you say are the lessons you drew from that process and what can be done going forward from what we've seen play out today?
Well, this is what I'm saying, that constitutional provisions are there, but it does not prevent people from putting political sentiments into it. It does not prevent it from happening. It can happen. And so far as I know, the previous petition that was sent, made against the Chief Justice, was surprisingly dated 18th December, which I thought was a little odd, that if a government is in office for maybe some 3 weeks or so only, and then somebody sends a petition, it smacks of, something else. But of course, it was dealt with by the Council of State, and the Council of State said they found no merit in the petition, and it would be recommended to be dismissed. So that is what happened. But then the question is that when people are bent on someone, then you find out that other people will be writing petitions. And, well, personally, I feel that it's a dangerous thing for any democracy when you begin to, when the public is allowed, well, sometimes when people say that the public has a right. Yes, the question, of course, is that the public right sometimes is also suspicious in the sense that not everybody understands the judicial system or the way it works.
Right.
Not everybody even understands what goes on in the court. Sometimes even a judgment is given and people accuse the judges of being biased and so because the judgment does not come the way they want it to be. Unfortunately, even sometimes some of my own legal colleagues also make utterances of that nature, which is also quite sad, because we know that when you go to court, you either win or you lose. And also being a law teacher, I realized many times that the student made that mistake of having a pass mark. And I always try to tell them that in the court there is no pass mark. You either win or you lose. And so when you are a lawyer, you go to court, you have to prepare yourself very well to win your case, not to depend upon pass mark. So I would say that we are human beings, so we are subject to all the weaknesses that is inherent in the human race, where we have biases, we have prejudices, we have preferences, and we realize that our biases, our preferences, and the rest should prevail, as opposed to what others think. So, well, let's see what the will do.
Right. Where do you think this decision to suspend the Chief Justice leave the country's judiciary? What are the possible repercussions we could see follow through on a decision like this?
Well, the suspension, of course, is also a provision which in the Constitution that the President has the power to suspend the Chief Justice when a committee is set up to investigate, what it is. Of course, the President has the power to reinstate that person. But, of course, I don't see it happening in this case. But you are talking about the repercussion. The repercussion is the fact that we all live in an international community. And so oftentimes we in Ghana sometimes forget that. It's that we are a sovereign country. And I say yes, we are sovereign countries, survivor. And so if you say you are independent and you do something, people feel that somehow you are manipulating the judicial system. They cannot trust your judicial system any longer. No investor, of course, will come and invest money in your country. So there are serious repercussions in some of these matters that I realize many Ghanaians don't understand.
Right.
That even sometimes our lawmakers, who are supposed to be the epitome of knowledge, they also sometimes don't has repercussions elsewhere. That there are others who are also looking at the system, looking at it, and that is my share.
Right. Mr. Kujeto, I appreciate that you could share your thoughts with us this afternoon as we continue to process really what it is that's happened, what happens from here on in. We're expecting the senior most justice at the Supreme Court to take the helm of affairs in handling matters at the judicial service, amongst many other things. I believe we can go to Lord Edwasari right now.
Yes, Lord is stationed at the Supreme Court. Lord Edwasari, our legal affairs correspondent, standing few meters away from the main Supreme Court building. In fact, those who are familiar with the place, just behind the main Supreme Court building is the Chief Justice's block, the block where the judges have the offices, the Chief Justice also on that block as well. Lord, what is the talk in and around the office space that the Chief Justice has in the last couple of years been serving the Chief Justice?
Right, Blaze. So the general talk and in fact the atmosphere here is one of sadness, uncertainty, and anxiety. A few of the staff I've been speaking to have indicated that this they acknowledge is unprecedented, and so they actually do not know how things will pan out. But they have been speaking very fondly in positive light about Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. They've been saying that she's someone who knows her stuff, and they also talk about the fact that she's come to transform the judiciary, talking about the fact that she introduced and expanded the e-justice system, among other things, initiatives that they are stating that she's brought since she became Chief Justice. They are not too happy about how things are going. The general talk was that, and you bear with me with that this morning, as early in the morning, we got notifications, social media, a lot of talk about the suspension of the Chief Justice they had seen, and that sort of built up the tension that they have been experiencing now. And so the final statement, which was issued a few hours ago, confirming that the Chief Justice has been suspended, sort of like affirmed the uneasiness that they have been feeling. But all they're saying that they hope that she will come out whole and vindicated because of the fact that as a boss that they've worked with, she's been very positive, and they just had positive words for her.
Lord, I'll have you hold the line for me. We'll come back to you and engage a bit further on the situations, on the issues playing out at the Supreme Court. And the other question we want to find out is whether we know whether she was even at work today. What have you picked about that as well? So we'll come back to you shortly. But Marina, we have some more reactions coming through.
Yes, let's speak to the president of Himani Africa, Franklin Kujo. He's joined us right now via the phone lines as well.
For Mokoshe and Semna course, Mokoshe video, audio Nina Kama, when they sema Ecoso Ghana Hasi. Just NDC for John Dramani Mahama na memunu ene nyina yenso ye follow closely oyina ne deputy ministers enche bia no oyina ministers si agusu yine deputy ministers and omo hwe nim so mo so o ma be pim vetting committee ni na yatoto ma no kama nsɛm wɔ so wɔ parliament etutura asɛm na ade nyinaa ne sia no amu ka ho asɛm te sɛ niama ɛkɔ so just under 1 month of John Dramani Mahama no wɔhye ɔdɔfoɔ wei ɛne nsɛm bebree a ɛkɔ so ɛwɔ Ghana ha me nyinaa brɛ wa informative so si adeɛ bɛde mu nya bisia makram